Let's get this workbench finished. Previously, we've shown you guys how we have laminated the top and laminated the legs. The next step was recessing and installing an Eclipse woodworking vise, which we've now removed because it is time to finish this workbench. Horace and Miles have opted for a satin Osmo Hardwax finish. We've prepped the bench already and we're going to show you each step of the way that we took.
So we're here with the workbench now. We've pre-sanded the base and the top to 120. The base we're not too worried about going to a higher grit because we're just going to roll on some Osmo. But with the top, because we have so much flame and so much figure on the top, we're going to go and sand up all the way to 320. And once we get to 320, we're going to buff on Osmo. That will allow this grain to pop out and come to life. We're going to go up to a 150 grit, and we're going to be using the cordless Festool ET SC2, which is very nice for getting a very, very fine finish. So now we're going to 180 grit for the next sand. Now it's time for the 240 sand. And next stop is 320, our final grit.
All right, so we've done up to a 320 grit sand, and if you have a look, a close-up on the surface, the grain is really starting to show, so when we put finish on, it's going to be great. But what we've got here, we've got two knots, and you can see there's a little bit of loose material in this one if you zoom in. So just take a chisel, you can see it's very soft. I mean, it really is just like, it's almost spongy. So once I've broken this out, I'm just going to come back with a vac and then suck any of the loose particles out. And I think that should be more than sufficient there. It's just we don't want the loose stuff, because if you bump it later on, it's just going to break up. We're going to be talking about the wood repair kit. Earlier we mentioned that we've got two blemishes on the surface of this tabletop. We've cleaned that one out with a chisel. Donald's just going to give us a quick demo on the glue repair gun and the processes that are involved in that. So here we go, Donald.
This is a knot repair pro gun. So the only thing that makes it a pro is that you can set the temperature.
And not the user.
Yeah. So if you're filling a larger knot, you can set your temperature down, and that will give you a thicker output.
Okay.
If you're filling a smaller knot, you can turn the temp up, and it makes the polymer more viscous, so you can fill smaller knots with it.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and fill this. So you overfill just slightly, and then use the cooling plate to force it in and cool it down quickly.
Interesting fact regarding the cooling plate, because the temperature of the cooling plate is so cold, it helps to solidify the wax. So instead of being a put filler in and wait 15-20 minutes or however long it's going to take, in this instance now, by the time you take the plate off, it's already nice and full.
Cured.
You can see it's solid. We'll migrate across to the other knot. We can fill that one, and by the time we're finished, we can come back and then clean that up. So knot number 2 is a slightly smaller one, but if you have a look in there, you can see it runs a little bit deeper. We're just going to allow this stuff to run in. Oh, trigger. Oh, yeah.
Just add pressure.
The other thing is when you put the pressure plate on, it actually will push the wax into all the little crevices, so you get a nice adhesion.
Cools quickly. And that's it.
What we're going to do is we're just going to have a look now at this cleaning up the wax. But before we move on to that, what we've got is we've got the wood repair. This is a typical style filler. So instead of having to use the, not repair stick, yeah, there we go. This is for finer cracks. So if we zoom in earlier, we had a look at we've just got a little bit of an opening in the glue seam. So ideally what you could do is you could take a little bit of glue, rub it in there, and then sand over, allow the sawdust and the glue to bond, and then close that gap up. But in this instance, we're just going to take a little bit of this and apply it. You can put it on your finger, you can apply it straight into the hole. I mean, it really is straightforward. I like to rub it in and then just come back like that, and then take off the surplus, less to sand off. There's a little spot there that needs a bit of TLC. Okay, we'll give that a few minutes to dry, and we'll come back, and once we peeled off the surplus wax, we can do a clean-up sand overall. What have we got? It's really a block plane. You've got a piece of wood, you've got a piece of steel, you've got a nice sharp blade there. It looks about 25 degrees plus minus. Flat surface. So all you're going to do is we're going to run it across your workbench. It's a kind of a slicing, peeling action. And you can see it lifting nicely. That's not. We want less is more. And that's it. So if you have a look, it's nice and clean. We're going to come back, we sand that. Once we apply finish, you barely even know that it's not real. If we just move to the left-hand side of that repair, you can see now the filler has dried. Now just a note to consider, it's a silica-based filler. And what happens is it does give you a little bit more flexibility in the joint, or I say the joint in the repair. So if there's a little bit of movement, you're fine. Whereas I know with some of the traditional stuff, the minute there's expansion, contraction, there's no allowance for the movement. Right, we're back to the 320 grit. We've patched up what we needed to. We're just going to make sure that we don't have any rough spots that may impede the quality of the finish. Let's go for it.
Now we're ready to do the finish. Donald from Osmo, back in the workshop. Donald, will you run us through your product, please?
So this is the Osmo Rapid Satin Rapid. It's got a drying time of 4 hours. Because Horace and Miles have sanded this desk to 320, what we opted for is rather a buffing option rather than a brush application. Because for your brush application, you want the pores open at a 120 sand. Up at a 320 sand, if you brush it on, you're not going to get the penetration, so you would need to buff it in. We're going to use the Rotex ETC with a buffing pad on it, and you just put the application, we'll card scrape the oil onto the bench, and then come back with the sander and buff across the table. We'll buff a single coat of the Rapid, and then your second coat you can come back and either brush or roll the second coat on. So our normal range has got an 8-hour drying time, whereas the Rapid range has got a 4-hour drying time. So it halves the time. It also just gives you a less working time as well.
You're going to do the pour. It's just a case of spreading it out to help yourself get a nice scrape through. We're just using card scraper to spread it out. But already, as you see, the grain is starting to pop, or should I say the flame, not the grain. Sand already with the buffing attachment. I've disconnected the vacuum, because pro tip for the day is if the vacuum is attached, it's going to cause suction, and you don't want to be sucking the finish through the sander. You would like the sander or the finish to stay on the tabletop. Could be an awkward conversation with your boss. All right, here we go. Buffing pad. Let's see what we get. Just turning the speed down to 1. You just want a slow rotation. It's just to make sure you get even coverage on the top. That's all. It really is soft. This isn't sanding, buffing is quite a difference. See how nice that looks now. Okay, so we've applied the first coat to the top. We've buffed it in. As you can see already, there's a quite a pronounced, grain pattern, but the sheen is quite beautiful. Obviously, for a workshop project, you may not want to go whole hog and put on a satin sheen or whatever the case may be, but there's so many options. You've got matte, you've got semi-matte, you've got satin, you've got gloss. Whatever your preference is what you're going to do. Here we've done the first coat. We're going to wait 4 hours. We'll come back, apply the second coat. In between that, we've just got a few touch-ups here and there on the base. We're going to be working on installing the vertical drawer cabinets. The vase plate, we're going to be looking at a later stage and reinstalling that. We've got also the shelf that's going to be going in the undersection over here. We've just got to trim those and then also install that. But I think on the whole, that's pretty much everything that we can say about this today. Yeah, so cool. Thanks, guys.